I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, February the 11th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services. They are your LRP specialists. Dakota Moss is there at the Exchange Building at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. Get a hold of him. How about Steve Anderson over there in Mountain View, Arkansas? He works with Ozarks Regional Stockyards there, and he's on the market all the time. Buys a lot of cattle for other people and puts them together. He knows what's going on. Get a hold of Tim Forth up at South Coffeyville. Any of these agents listed here can help you out. And when you see a little bounce in the market like we saw on Monday, it might be a good time to get a hold of them. Find you a protection level there if you're going to be turning cattle out, and get you an LRP on them, guys. I'll tell you what, we've still got a long ways to go down. We lost a lot of ground last week, but there's going to be more ground to lose, and you want to get you a protection level, guys. For more information, go to LivestockRiskServices.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, 3,100 head, a little bit lighter run as we're starting to see in the Midwest this week, because there's kind of a threatening storm moving across. They think it's probably going to go north of Beaver, but a few people didn't want to get mixed up in it and are backing off a little bit. Talked to Lane Conkle there, and he said, you know, we'd have probably had a hard time getting to 4,000 even if we hadn't had this storm. But 3,100 is where it's going to be, kind of a break for them. They've been having really big runs there. But he told me that they got about 500 head of calves there. Most of them weighing 400 to 600 pounds. 90% of them will be weaned. And then 2,500 yearlings, mostly all coming off wheat there locally, guys. And but he said the condition on them is really attractive if you want to turn them back out or whatever you want to do. And not a lot of put together cattle. It's going to be mostly calf crops, so not as many loads, straight loads as what they typically have. But if the order buyers will do their job there and put those loads together, there's some really, really nice quality in them. It's just that they're mixed numbers there because they are calf crops, and they get them sexed up and sized, and they're going to be bigger groups of them, but they won't be in square loads, so they'll have to put those together. But about 1,100 head of yearling heifers there, most of them 6 and 7 weights. There'll be 2 loads there, good enough for replacements if you're looking for those. But only 4 or 5 load lots, square loads, like I told you. About 1,400 head of steers. Most of them will be weighing in the 700 and 800 pound ranges there. And they are going to have maybe 10 straight loads of yearling steers. Not a whole lot of yearling steers there either, but really, really good quality, guys. They're not going to start until 8 o'clock in the morning. Start on 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday too with their cows. Just a pretty much typical cow sale there. 250 head of cows. Be mostly older bred cows and weigh-ups, but they are going to do have one consignment of 38 head. They just ran them through the chute, 5 and 6 year old black baldy cows in their heavy 3rd stage of pregnancy. So if you guys are interested, check them out on DVAuction.com and check out that sale. You can view and bid right there. Immune chickens, and I thought maybe that title would draw a few people in on that. Tell you what, you're looking at the chicken deal, and everybody wants to talk about the bird flu. Now, I'm just a little puzzled why the cattle business and the cattle market is so susceptible to any kind of rumors, talk, innuendo, anything about the bird flu. What about the chickens? Have the chickens had any kind of a fallout over the bird flu? I haven't heard anything about the chicken board cratering or anything like that. Now, I have heard and seen pictures and things of some of these laying hens that they're pushing around and picking up with front end loaders because there's so many of them that's died. But if you look, and even at the retail level, we haven't seen much fluctuation in chicken itself, poultry meat. We haven't seen that. And apparently Most of the bird flu is in your laying hens. Broilers are only in those houses for 6 to 8 weeks growing, and then they go out. And then they can disinfect and bring some more in. So I haven't seen it so much on the broilers, but the laying hens, apparently the price on them has gone up, and I haven't seen whether that's happened on a commercial level. I haven't had a chance to talk to Jeff Berkwin. He's the only one I know that goes to those big high volume chicken sales on a regular basis and keeps up with the market. But I do have some friends whose little girl loves to take care of her laying hens in the chicken house, and they have decided to sell those eggs, those country fresh eggs there. They put a few posts on Facebook, and oh my gosh, the demand just overran them. And so they got way more demand than they got supply. So they thought, well, we'll try to ramp up the supply a little bit, and went after some laying hens. And I tell you what, the prices that I've seen, of course, like I said, it's not on a big commercial level, but I have heard confirmed trade of over $30 a head on these laying hens, and asking prices up close to $50 a head. Now that I would say would be extreme, but for the most part, the poultry industry just keeps rolling by with this bird flu, no big deal. Now these eggs have shot through the roof, and that seems to be what everybody's talking about when they talk about grocery store prices, is the eggs. And eggs in the highest places like California are nearly $9 a dozen now. I think nationally they're averaging over $7 a dozen. So it's pretty high there for your breakfast. But we've got another story yet coming out of Nevada. I spoke on it last week. They found bird flu in some dairy cows in Nevada, of all places. And now, sure enough, we heard late on Monday, and I'm not sure if it happened to come out before the board closed or if anybody saw it, but one of those workers that was taking care of some of the infected dairy cows apparently has come down with a strain of the bird flu. Now, we haven't had any dead cows. They're not worried about anything serious about the worker, just not feeling well. They're going to have to give him, some over-the-counter drugs probably to get over that. Then he'll be fine. The thing we're really worried about is them trying to say or finding any kind of evidence that we've gone bird flu from a human to another human. Now, that would be like one of those Fauci deals. I think, the whole world would come to a complete stop there. But that could be another excuse to run the board down here on Tuesday if we do see that come out big in the media. Now, the board made kind of a nice recovery on Monday. I mean, not nearly what it was going down on the big down days last week, but your feeder cattle were up around $3 on the nearby, and your live cattle up over $1. So those were kind of nice to see, but just keep an eye on that. And we're just kind of jealous of how immune the chicken industry or the poultry is to this. And maybe it's because it's all just corporate done. Those broilers are all raised in chicken factories like that. And maybe 30 years from now, when all the calves are contracted at weaning to go into corporate feedlots and then into corporate plants, packing plants, maybe we won't see all the price fluctuation then. I hate to see that day, but I can kind of see it, just like we went with that with the chicken industry, and the hogs, they went that way too. So I don't know, maybe that makes you immune, but you don't have any individual producers involved in it. So who really cares what happens whenever it gets to that level? I do want to tell you one thing about the Oklahoma Independent Stock Growers Association there. They are a grassroots, heavily producer involved group there in Oklahoma, and they are pushing Oklahoma House Bill 1238. Now that's off of the Harriet Hageman deal, trying to stop mandatory EID tags. So they are trying to get that pushed through the Ag Committee. If they can get this House bill voted upon, they just got to get it to the floor to get it voted on. They think they can pass that if they can get it out there for a vote. But it would allow Oklahoma at least to cross borders and trade with cattle with other neighboring states that are doing the same thing without the mandatory EID. And I tell you what, I'm still thinking we need to stop that mandatory EID with all the reasons that we've spoken about before. You know, where's that information going? Who's going to go out there, take inventory of your cattle that have those EID tags in them? But to get it on through the committee there, they're wanting people to call in to Oklahoma Representative Kenton Patskowski. And apparently he's a rep there in the Oklahoma Panhandle. You would think that he would, if he just stopped in the coffee shop there in the Oklahoma Panhandle and talked to a few people, he would understand that none of the producers want this. And the sale barns sure don't want it, because they're going to be the ones that have to enforce it, just like everything else that they come up with on commercial cattle. But if you're a producer in Oklahoma, get your call in there to Kenton Patskowski's office and tell him that you want this House Bill 1238 and you do not want mandatory EID tags in your cattle to be able to cross state lines with them. Let's talk about your board on Monday. February live cattle futures up $1.10 at 201.87. April was up 135 at 198.12. Your back month's up 82 to up $1.12. March feeder cattle up 322 at 268.12. April was up 295 at 267.77. And your back months on feeder cattle were up as little as 165 on your farthest out traded month to up as much as 272. So pretty good day on your cattle board there, as we are very volatile right now. March corn is up 4 cents a bushel at 491.5. Beans for March unchanged at 1049.5. Hard red winter wheat for March down 7.5 cents a bushel at 596 3/4. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your 5-area feeding region totaled only 59,800, but that was more than the previous week of 46,700, and not nearly as much as same week a year ago of 64,200. Live prices, fat steers and heifers in your 5-area feeding region negotiated ranged from 203 to 213, which was mostly steady, but your weighted average was quite a bit lower, down 252 at 207.05 on your weighted average live basis there. Dress sales range from 320 to 333. That was also mostly steady, but your weighted average on dress steers was down 209 at 326.98 in the 5 area. As a whole, the Southern Plains traded $2 lower at 206. Northern Plains traded mostly 2 lower at 208, and also mostly 2 lower at 328 dressed. Nationwide, we sold 72,900 head negotiated compared to 58,800 the previous week and 83,100 same week a year ago. Of that 72,900, about 15,400 were for the 2 to 4 week delivery. They've got a lot of forward contract cattle out ahead of us, so they are getting quite a few cattle around them. Negotiated grid sales totaled 36,500 last week. Forward contracts written were a lot lower than the previous 2 weeks at only 13,200. And then, of course, the bulk of sales formula AMAs at 260,900 head. That's what tells me we're working towards what I talked to you about as all corporate cattle raising there. But of the 4 out of 5 regions that we get information from, Iowa sold 22,800 negotiated last week. Nebraska sold 23,800. Kansas sold 10,400. And Texas 2,800 head there. Box beef cutout values started the week higher, Choice cuts up 163 at 323.50. Selects up 102 at 313.92. Your slaughter, this is significant. Your slaughter was only estimated to be 100,000 on Monday. That is well under par. That's 15,000 less than the same Monday a week ago, and 15,000 less than the Monday a year ago. But man, they have really slashed slaughter here, and maybe that will give your dressed beef a shot in the arm there, but it's likely not boding well for our fed cattle market there, guys. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer, was at the end of the day on Monday sitting at 276.46, down 59 cents. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index, 275.76. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had a little lighter run, but they're not going out of business, guys. They're still open. There's still 9 commission firms there that's doing business, but the ownership of the yards there keeps talking about how they're going to sell it out from under them. It'd be like trying to run a restaurant with a for sale sign in the window, but they are still operating, guys, and they are still digging and got a good market there and still working, guys. Don't pay any attention to that stuff. Feeder steers are steady to $5 lower. Feeder heifers steady to $5 higher. Steer calves were steady to $5 lower. Heifer calves $3 to $6 lower. There were a few extremes on some particular weights that were even more lower, but it's a lower market, guys. And that 4,700 head, that lighter offering there, was also due to the storm that they're expecting to come through that area here. And hadn't quite made it yet on Monday, but people are just really on edge about it. Talk about another big sale, of course, Joplin Regional Stockyards, 7,500 head on their lighter run. Same reason, they're worried about a storm coming through and maybe 3 to 5 inches coming through there, but it sure hadn't come through yet on Monday. But market was very uneven again, like it was the previous week, and a lot of put together plainer yearling cattle coming in there. They did say, and Jackie Moore also said, that some cattle that come in there with a turnout condition, if they had any greenness to them at all and looked like they would be good to turn out, those cattle were selling higher. Something with some flesh on it, especially with that plainer quality, was quite a bit lower. But people are buying their turnout cattle right now. They're buying those cattle because they know they're not going to be here this spring. They're buying them now. They're just going to take them and warm them up, keep them alive, keep them healthy for early turnout on grass. Do it a little bit earlier every year. This is really not that early, but they are doing it. Joplin Regional Stockyards was your National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day. And you see this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. And this is the market in the lower Midwest, guys. And it is lower, but pretty handsome still. Check them out. How about 362 head of 4-weight steer calves, average 453 with a weighted average price of 366.62. 531 head of 5-weight steers, average 552 at 329.53. 443 head of 6-weight steers in Joplin, average 645 pounds at 292.15. 1,237 head of 7 weights, average 754 at 264.52. And 1,513 head of 8-weight steers, Joplin Regional Stockyards, averaged 857. Weighted average price $255.25. Look at some heifers that were well tested, all of them pretty much. How about 303 head of 3-weight heifers, average 354. Weighted average price $355.72. 428 head of 4-weight heifers, average 458 at 312.28. There were 668 head of 5-weight heifers in Joplin. They averaged 552 pounds at 282.74 on the average. 381 head of 6-weight heifers, average 647 at 255.90. And 720 head of 7-weight heifers, Carthage, Missouri at Joplin Regional Stockyards, average 759, weighted average price 245.42. The most impressive quote that I saw come out of Joplin was 63 steers, weighed 671, bring 307, just like they do up in the Northern Plains, guys. So you get the quality, you get the condition in there, they'll bring it all, and then they just sell accordingly after that. How about Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington, Kentucky? 76 head, weighed 707 at $3 smooth, way out east there, guys, through the ring there in Lexington, Kentucky. That's impressive. How about Aberdeen Livestock Sales in Aberdeen, South Dakota? They sell 72 steers, weigh 817 at $289.50, just like nothing ever happened. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri, right in the center of the state of Missouri there. Jack Harrison sale barn. He sells 63 steer calves, weighed 553 and bring 356. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.